Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. When most people think of mental disorders, what do you think of? Depression, exactly. Bipolar. Schizophrenia. Anxiety. Those are the things that come to mind when we think of something else.
Paranoia.
Paranoia, exactly. That's what you think of when you think of mental disorders. One of the top 10 most diagnosed mental disorders is ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. ADHD affects approximately 3 to 10% of school-aged children, and those same children go on into adulthood. Out of that 3 to 10%, 60% go into adulthood with those same ADHD issues. 60, that's huge. This can be a crippling condition that can affect all aspects of an adult person's life, meaning work or creating meaningful relationships. ADHD is a chronic condition that is characterized by persistent inability to focus and attention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. It usually has its onset at the age of 7, about 7 or 8, and as I mentioned earlier, goes well into adulthood if left untreated. Today I'll talk to you about adult ADHD in the workplace. Around May of this year, I ended my 2-year tenure with the Disability Advisory Committee. I was a member of DAC for about 2 years, representing all the franchise tax board employees to make sure everyone was fairly represented. During the interview, one of the questions they asked me was, why do you want to be a member of DAC? So I shared with them that I had a passion to help to bring voice to those who were struggling with what we call hidden disabilities. Those hidden disabilities are those disabilities that you can't see with the naked eye. Things like we just discussed: anxiety, depression, mental illness, bipolar. These are disabilities just the same according to the American Disabilities Act, the ADA. So I wanted to give voice to that. Having been personally affected by it, in my personal life, having a close member diagnosed with ADHD, I just have a passion for helping those in that capacity in whatever way that I can. Adult ADHD can manifest in many different ways. Left untreated, it can manifest, one of the ways it can manifest is in the workplace. So I'll talk about the top 3 ways that we see ADHD manifesting in the workplace for adults. The first way is inability to focus, attention. The second way is disorganization in your physical space or in your mind. And then the third way is incomplete staff work. So let's talk about those 3 quickly. So easily distracted. You've worked with people who have come, you've maybe had a one-on-one conversation with someone about work, and you're talking and maybe you notice that their eyes are darting to and fro. Maybe they are scribbling or doing something else while you're talking to them. Maybe they're changing the subject and talking about something different than what's germane to what we're discussing. Those are signs of possibly adult ADHD. The second way is disorganization. We've all seen cubicles at work that don't have just the normal clutter, but are over the top with clutter to the point where it's difficult to get anything done. When you see that, that can be a sign of ADHD. And the other way is the mental clutter. You're talking to someone and you're trying to get to the point, you're trying to make a point, you're trying to have a dialogue, and it's just not quite gelling, it's not quite coming together. That fogginess can be ADHD as well. And of course, I'm not trying to diagnose or say that everyone that you deal with that has a cluttered workspace or that is having some difficulties in expressing themselves has any kind of condition, because that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that we should be cognizant of the fact that people do struggle with different disabilities, and we should be thinking of that when we're dealing with people, because they may be. The last one is incomplete staff work. Someone with adult ADHD may have 50% of this project completed, a little more than half of this one done, and beginning to work on another one and asking about the one that you were working on. So they have about 4 or 5 irons in the fire, but none of them are done. So that's another sign that we can actually look for. My now 17-year-old son, George, was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 8. Here's George. And when he was diagnosed, I went and became a certified parent-to-parent teacher with CHAD. CHAD is a national organization that stands for Children and Adults with Attention Deficit Disorder. So my job as a parent-to-parent teacher was to train other parents on how to deal with their children effectively in the doctor's office, how to advocate for their child in the classroom, how to implement different behavior modification techniques at home so that their days could go by better. And so it was just helping me, myself helping others, helped me to help my child even more. Now, as George prepares to enter into adulthood, he's in high school. He's the class senator for his class. He's an honor roll kid. He plays every sport. He's a really strong athlete. And so most importantly though, George has the skills that he needs to pull out of his backpack, as I say, when he's challenged in the future. So when these things come up for him when he's in college, he'll know what to do with it. And that's the good part about ADHD. There's effective treatment out there if you so choose to get that. Really good treatment. So if you know anyone that needs that, please point them in the right direction and assist them if possible. The bad news is left untreated, it gets worse. So it won't get better for you. It just goes into adulthood and it continues. If you know someone that's struggling, have them visit chadd.org, chadd.org. And the next time when you go back to your desk and you're working with that person who may seem a little ill-prepared or always coming in late to the meeting and maybe rustling their papers or is not giving you attention or seems like they're lackadaisical or really doesn't care about what you're talking about, just take time to pause and think. They may be struggling with something. We all are. I know I do. Think about it. That person can use your help, your support, and your patience. They may be just struggling with something that's more apparent than what meets the eye. Thank you.